점수 잡는 hackers.
Hello everyone, welcome to the second class of your SAT reading review session. Today we will be covering passages 3 to 5 from Test 1. This is a brief summary of what we will be doing today. A walkthrough of questions 22 to 52 of Test 1, how to deal with paired passages, as well as characteristics of speeches. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's begin. Now, first things first, the introductory sentence. Now we have the author, the title, which reads, Extinct cave bear DNA lives on in brown bears, as well as the source of the article. And it says here the New York Times. Now, this fact is going to play an important role in other questions later, so let's find out. Now, since it's an article from the New York Times, it will start with an interesting fact to grab the reader's attention. Here we start with the fact that in Western Europe, 25,000 years ago, a species went extinct. But then, recently, what happened was that we found out that some of the cave bear's DNA is still within modern brown bears. And this is the main topic of our article. He goes on to say that the findings challenges our view of extinction, and that it means what? Extinction does not imply that genetic material is gone forever. Now, how did they come to this conclusion? The passage goes on to talk about the experiments and how they found out about this fact. In a new study, researchers initially set out to learn more about the cave bear by studying its genetics, but then they are surprised by an interesting fact. And there was a really quite obvious signal of hybridization between these two species, which one is supposed to be extinct and one is a modern species. They were so surprised that they actually thought their results were a fluke. So the team then compared the cave bear genome to that of 7 other bears, and they still got the same results. We did not expect to find this. So again, they were surprised by their results, and all because they're really quite diverse in terms of their evolution. So this was what they were thinking. Now, another interesting fact that they discovered was that the gene flowed both ways between the species, with the cave bear also carrying some of the brown bear's DNA. The most recent transfer of genes came from the cave bear to the brown bear, the study found. And we go on to discuss the differences between the cave bear and the brown bear, which is also why they were more surprised. They had no similarities. Next, they both share roughly the same territory about 25,000 years ago, but that's about it. It's not clear why the cave bears went extinct, although the timing roughly followed the migration pattern of the modern humans from Africa to Europe. Now, underline means that this is relevant to a question, so let's look at this closely. The last cave bears lived in Western Europe and at least one skeleton. So we found a skeleton of a cave bear, and it was found with fragments of a human man-made spear embedded. So from here we can see that, oh, this bear must have died by human hands. Also unknown is whether the inbreeding between the two bear species provided any evolutionary advantage to the brown bears, meaning what? Did the fact that they interbred help the brown bears survive until modern days? Now that we've discussed the findings and the limitations, we go on to see why this study is so important. The underlying portion says that it does force the scientists to change the definition of the word species, which means it makes us think again about what we define species as. It confronts this idea of a species that many people in biology emphasize how we really need to talk in this empirical data that gene flow does occur. So he also goes on to say that in doing so, we learned that the genes were preserved and that those may have led the cave bears to the extinction. Those cave bear genes that are never found in brown bears might prove essential to understand the process of speciesization. Also, the genetic mixing has implications, so we talk about another implication, and that it also helps us give a better understanding of a species that have already gone extinct, as well as studying today's endangered species. Now let's look at the first question. Question number 22. Over the course of the passage, the focus shifts from what this question is asking you is look at how the article starts and how it finishes. What does it contain in the beginning? And what does it say at the end of the passage? And also, you're always going to see the preposition to. So here is the beginning. This part is the ending of the passage. So you're trying to match from these two parts. Let's look at the passage. Now, the introductory passage, which was the title, extinct cave bear DNA lives on in brown bears. So this was the topic that this article discusses. Now, so the article starts with telling us that a species went extinct. But then a new study was published, and then we find this extinct cave bear DNA in modern brown bears. The finding challenges our view of extinction, so this was the significance of this new finding, and that extinction does not imply that the genetic material is gone forever. Now the ending, how did the article end? Well, it told us about the implication. Implications for what? Today's endangered species. So over the course of the passage, it started from telling us that we found an extinct bear DNA within modern bears. And then how did it end? It told us that it could help us with modern endangered species. Let's look at the answer choices and see which ones tell us that. The results of a study of the DNA of a species. That sounds about right. Implications for genetic engineering can be crossed off. We did not talk about genetic engineering. Next, the results of a study of a single extinct species, okay, to its implication for the study of other extinct species would be incorrect. C, the results of a study of an extinct species to its implication for the conservation of modern species. This sounds about right, but let's keep moving on and read number D. The results of a study of an animal species, okay, to its implications for understanding human evolution. Now, we never talked about human evolution in this passage, so the only correct answer choice can be C. Number 23, the passage is written from the point of view of. Now, this is where the blurb, the introductory sentence, comes in. Here we have a scientist, journalist, researcher, and reporter. How are we supposed to figure this out? Well, the introductory sentence told us. It told us what? The writer works for the New York Times, which means she is either a journalist or a reporter. So we can eliminate A and C on the spot. Now let's look at the details. Is she a journalist investigating competing theories or a reporter conveying a discovery to a lay audience? Now the term lay audience means the general public, someone who is not an expert in the field. So we did not talk about competing theories. We only had one theory, that extinct bear DNA was found in modern bears. So we can choose D for the answer choice. Number 24. According to the passage, which of the following question was the researchers originally intended to answer? Now, originally is the operative word here. If you pay attention to every single word in the question, it will make life easier for you. Now, if you pay attention to this term, then you automatically go to line 14. Here, they say researchers initially set out to learn more about something. What was that? This is the answer that we're looking for. The cave bear by studying its genetics. So our keywords are cave bear and its genetics. They didn't know about the brown bears. They didn't know about interbreeding. This was what they intended to do in the beginning. So let's find this in our answer choices. So we need the words cave bear and genetics. A has cave bear and genetics, so we'll leave it for now. B does not have the word genetic or DNA, so we cross it off. C has cave bear DNA. D has cave bears and DNA. So we're left with A, C, and D. Let's look at them closely. How cave bears are genetically related to modern bears. Now, we're not talking about modern bears. We didn't initially intend to study this, so A is incorrect. C, what can cave bear DNA teach us about genetic mixing? Again, we did not want to learn about interbreeding. All we were trying to do is learn about cave bears through their DNA. So, what can we learn about cave bears from examining their DNA? This would be your correct choice.